You know something? I honestly think that if Microsoft, however, I don't think that they're going to do this. I truthfully do not think they will do this. If Microsoft, however, changes one tiny thing, they can actually start selling consoles at least. Yes, we're talking changing the online to free, to where people can just play games online for free. Something like what Sony did with the PlayStation 3, something what Nintendo did with the Nintendo Wii, and I think even the Wii U. Now the Switch is when they started to charge, but it was actually still not a super high expensive price point. I mean, with the Switch, you only have to pay like $20 for an entire year, and you get access to play whatever games online, like Minecraft and all that stuff, and some of their first party games and whatnot. But then you also get some classic games as well. Sony, and I know this is going to kind of sound a little weird, but Sony, however, did start charging for online, and I think it was because of Microsoft's success with the Xbox 360. Now, I just honestly think, like I said, I don't think Microsoft is going to really do this. I just really don't think they will. If they could actually just change online altogether, like still keep Game Pass, as a subscription, just to have access to all of those games, I honestly think Microsoft could actually start selling consoles, even with the price hike that they did with the Xbox Series. Like, especially getting a Series X over a PlayStation 5 for like $100, and people are going to be like, gosh, I could play all these games for free online. Well, do I want to play $500 some for a system and then pay for online? Or do I want to buy a $600 console and get online for free? I honestly think that Microsoft will actually probably start changing their strategy, and something they could start selling consoles. This is just something I personally thought of. Now, you can actually see that we have rearranged our game room. Our PC was actually right there where our other Samsung QD-OLED TV is, right there on the floor. That was originally where our PC originally was, as you remember watching a lot of our previous videos. And then our console TV gaming setup was literally right here up against the wall facing the window. Now, this is where our PC is, and now our console setup is literally right over there. Pretty much as if we had our PC still right there, you would immediately see our console setup head on. So, we rearranged our room, and I know there's a lot of boxes that you're seeing in the back. That's just all of the special, like, limited edition consoles that we have collected over the years, and then our PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pros that we recently got. So, minus all that, and now you can actually see all of our games that we have, at least physical and recent generation consoles, like the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 below, and I know there's a TV there, and then you got Xbox One and PlayStation 4. But Microsoft has just been making like so many stupid mistakes. I don't understand why they have done this. But this is actually what I think is going on. They're relying on Game Pass. A lot of developers do not want their games on the service. You want to know why? It's because Microsoft is only giving them tiny bit of this. Like, we're talking maybe a couple $1 million or $10 million or something like that, when in reality, the game itself costs like, I don't know, like $100 million, and then they sell like maybe 2 million, and then they're only making like 60, and then Microsoft's only paying them 10, and that's still technically only like 70 some million dollars, but the game costs like 100. That is actually what I think is going on, and why they're laying off all these companies, or people I should say, and all that stuff is because when they want their games on Game Pass, they're only getting a tiny bit of this because they don't want to go bankrupt. And then at the same time, well, they're not going to go bankrupt, I should say, but they're not going to be with insane less amounts of money and whatnot. But then again, they wasted all this money buying all of these studios. Like, we're talking Bethesda, we're talking Activision Blizzard just recently, and that was a big one at the end of itself. Like, they purchased Bethesda for $7.5 billion, and that's a lot. That sounds like a lot, but wait till you hear how much they purchased Activision for. It's like 8 times that. We're talking nearly $70 billion. $70 billion. Like, more or less, it was like 68.7 is what the number was. So $68.7 billion is how much they purchased Activision for. Now, this is another thing that I also thought of. Another thing they could actually do, and I don't think they're going to do it because they just want to rely on the subscription model forever. That is actually why that they have announced that everything is an Xbox. That TV is an Xbox. That PlayStation 5 is an Xbox. This PC is an Xbox. That TV is an Xbox. It's just so freaking weird and shocking that they're like, yeah, that TV's an Xbox. That TV's an Xbox. Hey, your PlayStation's an Xbox. Hey, the PC is an Xbox. It's insanely weird, I think. Like, even if they said it only for, like, TVs at least, like with the Xbox Cloud that they have, especially on Samsung, because I think they have a partnership with Samsung, and I will admit, like, I don't care what anybody says, I think Samsung is the best TV brand out there in terms of, like, gaming and such, and they always have a lot more TVs to choose from of different types with really good specs no matter what. But I think Microsoft and Samsung have partnered up because no matter what, over the last couple of years, if you got a Samsung TV, it doesn't matter if it was a budget, cheap one from Walmart, or if you got something like a premium one like the S90C QD OLED that we have there, and then as well as our S90D that we currently have up in our game room right now, they basically got the Xbox app on there to pretty much play cloud gaming through Xbox. And you could just link a controller to either of these TVs and start an Xbox game through the cloud on the TV. Now, that's something I think is smart that they've done. But here's what I think they should honestly do. Instead of relying on Game Pass as a subscription, they can continue to do that. Like I said, have online for free. That way nobody doesn't have to pay to play online. Whereas if they did that, people would want to pick up an Xbox, especially with the high price points that they just raised last month, or I should say a month and a half ago. They raised Xbox prices, but if they made online for free, guess what? You would be paying pretty much like buying a Series X, because look at it like this. You buy a PlayStation 5, okay? Just a regular standard one with a disc drive. That is $500, okay? And this is not me supporting the price hikes. I do not support it whatsoever. They should have kept it at $500, but that is another thing that's what's killing them as well. But with the price hikes that we have right now, look at the PlayStation 5, regular one with the disc drive for $700, or not, I'm thinking of the PS5 Pro, for $500 with a disc drive, okay? You have to pay PlayStation Plus Essential. You have to pay PlayStation Plus Essential, which cost $80. So when you think about that, that's going to add up to pretty much the same price as what you would get for an Xbox Series X. But guess what? You can buy the Series X, and then if they was to make it free, which I don't think they will, but this would be something that would save them in a long run. And they would honestly sell Xboxes even with the price hikes. Even though, like I said, I don't support it. But if they were to make it free, somebody buys an Xbox Series X for the new price point that they raised it to $600, okay? Well, you would be paying that for 1 year for PlayStation, and then next year you'd have to do it again. Whereas you would buy a Series X and it would cost the same. Next year rolls around, you wouldn't have to pay unless you want Game Pass. And $20 I thought was stupid that they raised, but now with the amount of games we got, it kind of adds up even if it was not to have online access. And I still think it's stupid that you have to pay that just to have online. I think the online doesn't matter as much. I think the games do. Now, here's another thing that I think would save them a lot from making all of these horrible choices. But I probably bet you they will not do it 99.9%. But they could, but I doubt it. Instead of allowing developers, most third-party developers, I should say, allow games on their Game Pass subscription, maybe they should just do the first-party games. Now, I don't support this, but if they were to do this, I kind of do. But now with them releasing their first-party games on PlayStation as well as the Nintendo Switch 2, if they were still only release their games, their first-party games, on Game Pass, they'll have freaking PlayStation and Nintendo with the sales. But if people don't want to buy the game, then that's when they'll get an Xbox to just pay for the monthly subscription. But not third-party developers, because that is where they're losing money. You get it? When they put their games on the Game Pass subscription, like I stated, Microsoft only gives them a tiny bit of the money than worse than what they would do if they were to sell the game. Even if they sold the game less and had less people compared to selling and having some Game Pass subscriptions, they would probably make more money. And you gotta think, game development cost is literally going high through the roof. Like, it is costing game developers like hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, we're talking anywhere from 150 upwards to $400 million to make per game. Not just a couple games alone, per game. Like Horizon Forbidden West, one of Sony's best PlayStation 5 games and best pretty much PlayStation game ever made. That developer had to spend $220 million to make that game. Now, it's a masterpiece, and we're definitely going to be replaying it on New Game Plus here probably later on today We're going to play the PlayStation 4 version on our PlayStation 5, but that game is gorgeous and has a wonderful story and awesome open world. But Spider-Man 2 is one of the latest PlayStation 5 only games. That developer, it cost them between $300 to $350 million. $350 million to make. Yeah, that's insane. Especially when you think about Rockstar with Red Dead 2. That game cost around, I want to say it was like, I forget if it was 500 something or 600 something million dollars. But RDR2 cost Rockstar a lot. Now there's reports that GTA 6 that we should be getting less than a year is costing Rockstar between $1 to $2 billion to make. And Rockstar is going to succeed. Like, there's no doubt about it. Even with just releasing the game on both consoles, the Series X and the PlayStation 5, they're going to still succeed. Even with just those two platforms. But it will come to PC probably within the following year in 2027. But even if they didn't, Rockstar will still succeed because people love that game. That game is just going to blow off store shelves and just be the top selling game on Xbox as well as PlayStation's like digital charts for like months. However, I mean, Call of Duty is one of those games that has been up there as well as Minecraft, but once GTA 6 comes out, those two games will be right below GTA 6. Because if you look at it, GTA 5 has still been in like the top 10 best-selling games, or I should say the top 10 most sold digital copies still to this day every quarter of the year on both PlayStation and Xbox consoles. And this includes not just the remake, or the remaster I should say, version of GTA 5 with ray tracing for the Series X and PS5. This includes PlayStation 4 and Xbox One editions. Like, it's just insane that GTA is a popular game. And Rockstar is going to be just fine with the cost of $2 billion of GTA 6. They are going to be just fine. So, if Microsoft would just allow third-party games, or not allow third-party games on there, and maybe Rockstar could honestly, I will say there's a couple to a select few third-party games that I think they could release on Game Pass and they would be fine. Rockstar is definitely one of them that will. Call of Duty is absolutely one right now, because if they want to play it on Xbox, they're going to get Game Pass, but it's also going to still be on PlayStation that sells the most copies. Call of Duty, at the end of itself, even if Microsoft didn't buy Activision, if they would have put their game on Game Pass, which they wasn't going to anyway because Activision's a greedy company, but Activision would have still be good if Microsoft didn't buy them and they released their games day one on Game Pass, while PlayStation is where it sells the most on. Like, Activision would still be perfectly fine. But thankfully, Microsoft owns them and they are going to Game Pass. New Call of Duty, day one, each year is going to go on Game Pass day one. And then PlayStation is still going to be the one that the console that sells the most copies of that game series. So, if Microsoft honestly would just if they would just make online free, even with the price tag, like I said, I don't support them raising the Xbox Series X and S prices, but if they just would release and maybe change online for free, people would see that and they would want to pick up an Xbox, and developers would be able to sell their games, because not everybody would have to, or I should say, people would not have to pay for online like if they was to do yearly or whatnot, they would be able to be like, okay, well, that's $75 or $60 I could save for this new $70 game. I'm going to buy it. It would just help out, maybe not a lot, but it would help out somewhat with developers at least selling a decent bit of more copies of their games and just pretty much, making online for free. And then not putting all third-party games trying to rely that on the service, because that's where it's like really hurting them, because developers are just not making enough profit to make the next game. Like I mentioned, with how high game prices are to develop, we're talking, like I said, 150 to 500 million dollars. That's definitely insane. But Rockstar is definitely one of the only select couple companies, like with GTA 6 costing, if it is costing $2 billion, they would still be fine. Even if they did not release the game on PC. If it was just simply on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, Rockstar would still be healthy. They'll still make billions of dollars back. They'll probably make that $2 billion at least within the first year, maybe 2 years. Because you got to think, they're going to have shark cards like what GTA 5 has on GTA 6, and that's where they're going to make the most profit. But they're also going to make the profit from the game getting sold as much as it will, because everybody wants it. So Rockstar probably would make that $2 billion back in the first year. Like, there's no doubt about it. Everybody will agree with me on this one. They will make that money back in the first year, because Rockstar's just so popular. I mean, look at Red Dead Redemption 2's sales, however. It's not selling nowhere near as good as GTA 5 is, but it is still selling relatively great and better than most other games. Like RDR2, like if you look at GTA 5, it has sold 215 million copies. That's insane. Minecraft has sold close to 400, or at least 350 million, but 250 or 15, I know I kind of said 50, but 215 million is still really great. And GTA 5 is the second most sold game below Minecraft. But RDR2 has sold close to 70 million copies. And guess what? It's still in the top 10. It's probably just a couple games below GTA 5. So Red Dead 2 is still up there in the top 5, or top 6, I probably should say. Or I shouldn't say that without knowing, but I do know that RDR2 is definitely in the top 10 of still most sold copy games in the entire world. Because you know why? It's still a masterpiece, and people love that game. Honestly, there's a report that it's going to be coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2, and that's going to help it sells even better. And it's supposed to come out finally for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and that's also going to help sales. So, yeah, I just think if Microsoft would just make online free to pretty much play online for free and not rely on all of these third-party developers to put their games on Game Pass, they would probably at least be a little bit healthier. And then just mainly release their first-party games on the service, while at the same time releasing them for the PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2. They would be in a lot better profitable state if they did something like that, because not a lot of people are buying the games on Xbox consoles because of Game Pass. But guess what? They have been reporting Sea of Thieves, Forza Horizon 5. These games got brought to the PlayStation 5 just a couple months ago and last year, and they were reported that they were selling like crazy on the PlayStation 5. So, Xbox would be the cheapest way to get in all of these games that they make for a low monthly price point, keep it online for free, but with them releasing on PlayStation, Nintendo, they are selling like crazy. They're making the money there, while at the same time selling consoles and making online free and just having the games for a low monthly thing. I think if Microsoft did that, they would start selling Xboxes finally. Even with the price hike of $100 more over the PlayStation 5, they would start selling Xboxes. And they would honestly start making profit so they do not have to lay off all those people and close all of those studios. They would be in a much better place if they did that. But as for what you know, they're more than likely 99.9% not going to do that. Although I can see possibly the online becoming free, because there's been rumors that has been, mentioned in the last couple of years, or the last few years, I should say. But I can see that happening more than not making all these developers put their games on Game Pass. But it's also not going to work. So that's honestly what I think. If Microsoft honestly did, they would honestly sell, or I should say, they would sell the Xbox a little bit better. Not completely all the way. They won't sell as many consoles as like the PlayStation does, but they would start selling more, and they would be a little bit in a more better competition with Nintendo and PlayStation. Because you gotta think, Nintendo makes great quality first-party games, Mario, Zelda, Mario Kart, and that's what sells the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2. PlayStation, on the other hand, is making still good games. They have been making bad choices, but they're still making games for the PlayStation 5. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, God of War Ragnarok, and even being able to play some of the old PlayStation 4 games at like higher resolutions and higher frame rates by playing them on the PlayStation 5. And I know Sony has been making a lot of remasters recently with like The Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, but a lot of people don't really support that. I have actually been supported them for it because of one thing. They're not asking for full price to buy those games. So I know a lot of people just want them to focus on new games, but with them making these games, or I should say remastering these games and just charging you $10 if you own it already to upgrade, I'm okay with that. I support Sony in every way, because if you want to replay the game and re-get trophies of that, updated version and revisit that with the slightly better graphics, it's only going to cost you $10. No matter if you own it digital or you own it physical. Like The Last of Us Part 2. I just popped the disc in, and it was like $10 upgrade, and boom. You get native 4K on that version, whereas if you played it on the PS4 Pro or PlayStation 5 playing the PS4 version, it was only 1440p. But now you can get 4K at pretty much 30 FPS, but with VRR, you can actually get a nice smooth 40 FPS. But the PS5 Pro, if you got a PS5 Pro, The Last of Us Part 2 can actually play right at 4K with the PSSR at 60 frames a second, so you're getting a clean, also smooth experience. But Sony's not been charging full price for their remasters. They have been just charging $10. And for $10 that you're getting, it's worth it. But Sony's still been making good games. God of War Ragnarok, even Horizon Forbidden West, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I mean, they've been making some games. Now, they haven't been making as much, but I support them with the remasters because of the fact that they are just asking $10 if you already own them and not charging you, hey, you already own it, but yeah, you got to pay us $70 again. So I support Sony for not asking full price for them. But I am hoping that they are making Horizon 3 because I've been really playing Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West lately, and like I said, I'm going to replay Forbidden West here soon because it's going to be incredible because those games are beautiful. And I will say, compared to The Last of Us Part 2, I do think Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, they did a lot more work. Like, it is a lot more, like, there's a lot more graphical fidelity that they have upgraded with the remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn, and it was also essentially just $10. And it's so good that, like, I even would say $20 to upgrade to that version would have been still worth it. But hey, they only ask $10 for Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, and man, it is a huge upgrade from the PS4 version. So $10 for way more prettier graphics and, better smooth performance, definitely worth it. It was a lot more than I expected that they were going to do with Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. It was a lot more than I expected. So I got my hopes up to a low level of that game, and they ended up being here, and it's like, wow. So I am going to give props to Guerrilla Games for the remaster of Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster. But The Last of Us Part 2 is just simply just higher FPS and higher resolution than compared to Horizon Zero Dawn of the same graphics that they have on the PS4 version. I still think they should have did a little better, but I'm actually glad to pay $10 and be able to play Last of Us 2 at least at 4K native now. But this has just been what the video has been about. That's what I think Microsoft should honestly do, if they do, but probably they most likely won't. So let us know in the comment section down below if you agree, if Microsoft made online free and did not make a lot of third-party games release their games on Game Pass because of not giving them enough profit, or I should say enough money to put them on there. Honestly, let us know in the comment section down below if you agree with this, if this would help save Xbox at least a little better. Let us know in the comment section. Hit that like button if you enjoy this content, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Sorry about that. Had something in my throat. But subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we will keep you posted with more content like this going forward. And like I said, let us know in the comment section if you agree with us on this, that if Microsoft made those changes, that they would honestly be in a lot better place, or somewhat of a better place than where they are now. Let us know in the comments. So, like, subscribe, and we will, I guess, see you on the next video. Peace out.